kick it off. We're ready.
Okay. I'll pull up the agenda. All to order. I call this meeting of the Gurnee Environmental Sustainability Committee to order.
All right, roll call. We have Osa,
Present.
Lazarus,
Here.
Salgado.
Here.
Perfect. And then we also have myself as a member of the public / staff liaison. And then we have Diane. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
So Diane Zrufka. Okay. So Rick, we have a quorum.
Okay. Okay. And no members of the general public?
Oh, we do have Diane Zrufka on. too.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm a member.
So kind of general public. Diane, is there anything you wanted to bring up now, or we could wait till after the rest of the business and use the remaining time?
After the rest of the business, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Our new business is approval of the June 9th meeting minutes. Has everyone received a copy of them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any comments on them? Any corrections needed?
Just a comment for the committee. So kind of out of practice, we were taking these meeting minutes. We had our Catherine when she was here. She was kind of the secretary for it. She has moved on, got another job with another community. So I wanted to bring up to the group, there's no requirement that we take these minutes. I'll be honest, they're not super high quality. We publish the video from these meetings to our website, the recordings. Would the committee be okay if I move away from the minutes and instead just publish the recording?
That's fine. Your time is better spent doing other things, I am sure.
Yeah.
Can't get more accurate than the actual recording. So I guess let's if someone would propose that, and then we'll vote and make it official.
Okay. So I propose that instead of posting minutes, we post online recordings.
Okay.
I second.
And sounds good. All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. We're entering the 21st century. But we should also though. I guess there's no reason to formally move the meeting minutes from last time. Let's just proceed. Okay. Next order of business is the environmental survey results and analysis. Jack, can you lead us through that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to update the group. So last meeting, we just did discuss the preliminary survey results. So at the time, there were, I believe, 240 responses, something around that range. Surprisingly, I guess to me, after we had it in our newsletter, published it, it continued to remain open. We really didn't get much more response in the last month. So it got up to 278 total responses. So what I can do though is what I will say, the data didn't change very much. Numbers are still pretty much where they're at. So what I wanted to bring up is not as much of just going through the survey results, because again, we have the data out there, we have those open comments available on our website. What I wanted to propose to the group is a couple things. One, where do we go from here with the data? And two, how do we want to maybe synthesize it a little bit, maybe put it together as like an easy to understand synopsis, and then present it to the village board and the mayor so they can review it. So those are a couple of items I wanted to bring up with it. Otherwise, I mean, if anyone has questions on the survey, I'm happy to answer it.
I can try to go through it and do some kind of synopsis subject to your guys' approval of it. You know,
I think if we wanted to present it to the mayor and the board, hold up, one moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and to kind of add to it too, I mean, SurveyMonkey does have some tools to export. So like what I put out is essentially a summary with all the open-ended comments. But one of the items we could maybe do, we could take what we have of all the graphs, and then we take these, you know, all the comments and try to find trends. So obviously there's some of the trends we've talked about in the past. I mean, it's clear, you know, one of the number one concerns of respondents was ethylene oxide and ethylene oxide emissions. When you read through the comments, that's one of the number one responses. So essentially, if we can kind of find trends, patterns, you know, ways of sharing it, and kind of find some of the other ones that maybe come up more than once. So there's things that'll come up once. If you have things that start to become kind of a recurring item. I mean, you have some like looking at it, they're one of the top ones for one of this, someone wrote like taxes and pension costs. You know, that might not be relevant to environmental survey, but kind of going through and finding out ones that maybe are environmental related that maybe we didn't think about or didn't include prior.
Those sound like some real good ideas. And Shelley, I heard you volunteered to take a first swipe at that. But given the built-in tools that SurveyMonkey has, I'm wondering if maybe we should let Jack do the initial and then get it over to you to supplement.
I do not know how to use those tools, so.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and I'll share too with it. So there's a couple different export formats I could provide you, Shelley, where I just basically, it pushes out some of the data. And again, some of it comes out in bar graphs. Where SurveyMonkey won't be able to do is what you need a human to do is to go through the open comments and find the trends. So
I can, that's where I can do that. Maybe that's where I'll put my efforts.
That would be awesome. So I think that'd be really helpful just to kind of find the, you know, like how many times, for example, is ETO or ethylene oxide mentioned, you know, and if there's, you know, looking at like some of there's 67 comments, you know, what percentage of them are ethylene oxide? What are some of the other ones that are coming up frequently? I don't know, just kind of however it's of interest.
Yeah. And especially if they're on issues that we didn't specifically include in the survey. So if there's something that we missed, it'd be nice to know that there are one or more folks for whom that's a significant issue. Okay, that sounds good. As far as timing, Jack, is there a time that's better than others for communicating this to the board?
Yeah, I'm thinking, so I brought up the idea to Mayor Hood. I just mentioned to him that we have this data, the committee has the results, would he be interested? And he very much wants the committee, specifically, you know, the members, not necessarily me, to present at one of the village board meetings, probably in August would be my guess. Our next two are the 12th and the 19th. The 12th is pretty much already set. 19th could be a quick turnaround. So I'm thinking in August, we have meetings on the 2nd and the 16th. The 16th might be beneficial in that we could regroup at our next meeting, which is August 11th, and kind of talk about like a plan of how we're going to present it, kind of, you know, share our results and to the board at that meeting.
The 16th works better for me because I'll be out of town until the 15th. And then the thing I wanted to say before, if we're going to present this to the board, I think we should place an emphasis that like 90% of the people responding are a resident or student in Gurnee, and then the majority of people responding have lived here for more than 16 years. So that shows like people who live in the community for a long time are interested in this. As because in a later question, it shows that the majority of people finds living in an environmentally sustainable community very important. Run it for.
Good points. Yes.
Yeah, I like if that works for you. Does the 16th seem to work for the rest of the committee? It'd be 7 p.m. in person here at Village Hall. You know, we don't necessarily need the whole group, but having a few members would be great.
I don't have my phone with me, but I usually am doing nothing, so it shouldn't be a problem.
And what time's the meetings?
7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Well, that works for me.
So I'll share with the group. I'll put out kind of the calendar reminder for it, just so everyone have it on their calendar, and then we'll kind of work towards it. So I know it seems like it's a little bit of ways out, but anybody who's done this for a while, you realize how quick a month can fly by. So we'll just make sure we're all kind of communicating and putting together something, you know, and I'm happy to help with it too. I just think, you know, having it come from the committee members will be stronger. I present to the board all the time, so they don't want to hear from me.
Jack, could you repeat the date, please?
Yeah, August 16th.
Thank you.
And let's at least tentatively plan on having our presentation at least in rough shape by the preceding Monday, which would be the 9th, and maybe run that by the mayor, see if there's anything he thinks we've left out, or read from him as to whether that's going to be a good approach for this particular audience.
Sounds good. So just confirm what you said. You wanted to have us done with our presentation the week before on the 9th, and also run it by the mayor, see if he has any input.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And give us a few days to do any fine tuning and finishing it up. Okay. And Jack, thanks a lot for handling the logistics of that. I'm still, well, I wish we had gotten some more responses. I still am pretty surprised at how many responses we did get.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and one idea, Daisy, how long are you out of town? Because would we want to maybe try to touch base, you know, in a few weeks or something, just to kind of make sure everyone's working together and it's not all on Shelley to,
Right.
you know.
Well, I'm going to be on the 31st to the 15th, but I'll still have my computer. I'll just be visiting my grandma in New York.
Okay, yeah, we could work out maybe another time in a few weeks just to kind of touch base, or even via email too, just reaching out and seeing where we're at.
Yeah, we can circulate some initial outlines and such.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and then what I can do too, one of the SurveyMonkey tools that does exist is I can export it as a PowerPoint essentially, so I can have all this data. We can kind of walk through every question and then take some of what Shelley puts together for some of the qualitative data, put it together and kind of have that out there.
Great. Okay. Any other thoughts about the survey analysis and putting together a presentation for the board? Hearing none, let's move on to the next agenda item. Shelley pulled together a meeting with Representative Mason, and was fairly wide-ranging. The focus was definitely on recycling and possible efforts there. But I thought it was a real good meeting. Shelley, can you just walk us through, first of all, how did you initially get in touch with Representative Mason and the history
Well,
there?
she's our representative, and she has monthly or whatever chats, community chats, and so I signed up for one. And the first one I had was with her staff member because she was in Springfield. And then when she got back from Springfield, she agreed to meet with us, and she's very concerned about the environment. So I think we have a friend in Joyce, and she's willing to work with us and help us any way we can. We talked about a joint effort between the village and her office to doing a recycling event, whether it's styrofoam and electronics. She was willing to begin the conversation with Best Buy, or perhaps the corporate office, about styrofoam or recycling as well. And she's just, I think will be a good resource for us, and is willing to help us if we can hone down exactly what we need.
One of the things that seemed to really resonate with her was in discussing, possible styrofoam bans and the potential effect on businesses. And the thing that seemed to really catch her attention was the idea of, instead of the stick, using a carrot approach and providing some kind of recognition for businesses who have taken the initiative to reduce their waste generation or participate in the industrial and commercial recycling program that the village already has. So that, and she said she'd be more than willing to hand out the awards and publicize them. So again, really good to have made that contact, and that might be able to obviously help her out in what she's trying to get done, as well as further the committee's objectives.
She was the Gurnee Green Standard Award we talked about, and let's see, and she's working on legislation regarding end of use carpeting, and was thinking of putting packaging on with that, but she's being realistic and saying that's going to take several years if it can get passed, so that the person who creates it is also responsible for taking it back. And in the meantime, perhaps we can do some events. But she's learned not to be so optimistic from her experiences. That things take a lot longer than she had hoped.
And then also, while Rick was talking, I just had a thought. So perhaps during our meeting with the village, or presentation to the village, we can also include, or we could also recommend that the village recognize businesses that are environmentally friendly or sustainable. So then, and we could say that with all these people interested, it will be good to businesses in the area if we recognize these places.
We have to come up with some criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be, I don't know what that would be, but I don't know if we can get that together. Well, maybe we can.
Mhm.
Or we don't want to make it so onerous that no one can win the award, but
yeah. And I mean, we can have different tiers of awards. friend or the patron of the environment, all the way up to your highness of the environment, something like that.
I like the ranking system. Seems nice.
And one opportunity too, maybe is, you know, I think when this committee was formed by Mayor Hood, kind of his thought process back when he was a trustee was that this group would be making some recommendations to the village board. So maybe this first time is a presentation. So essentially we present this survey data, and then maybe we do come back in the fall or in the winter with more actionable steps too, or different ideas or different recommendations. So to Daisy's point, I think it's a good idea. It just maybe we'll have opportunity at future meetings to do that as well.
Sounds good.
Give me a moment. I tried rebooting in hopes of getting through, but for some reason seem to have internet now, but not Zoom. Oh well. Okay. So again, Deli, thanks a lot for putting that together. And I think we left it that we'd be touching base periodically with Representative Mason. And she also invited us to join her. She said she had a citizens environmental group that she had calls with periodically. So that's another way to reach out, maybe like-minded folks.
Yeah, and I wanted to extend that too. So Representative Mason's office is inviting us, if we're interested, her next advisory council meeting where they do their Zoom call is actually next Monday. So it's July 12th at 6 p.m. So if you actually, if you're on Facebook, her Representative Joyce Mason page has it out there. So you can attend, and it's a kind of an opportunity to talk about state and local environmental issues that matter to you. So it'd be a good opportunity to hop on and, whether providing or even just to listen too. I'm planning to try to get on it if I can, just to hear as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't attend that next week because I have work. But if you do end up going, please let me know how it goes.
Sounds good. Next item of business. Some of the other environmental topics that we've been working along, and some of these we also discussed with Representative Mason. The various methods for promoting recycling. I think we were talking about possibility of having just a little information guide on what can be recycled and how, available for handing out at Gurnee Days or some other event like that. So that's one of the things we were thinking about. Then also possibly putting together a foam recycling effort, probably just a one-off at this time anyhow.
I don't mean to interrupt, but my mom needs a computer. I'll sign on my other one, but I'll just need a moment. Sorry.
Okay. So this is when we can assign some of these things to Caitlin.
Do we want to try to do something at Gurnee Days with Swalco, or what were we talking? Waste management, or?
That's right. I
I
had
don't-
forgotten possibly recruiting them.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not certain to see. I know, so for Gurnee Days, the vendors are really limited this year. I think it's limited just to sponsors. So even from the village, a lot of our usual events, we're not participating in a lot of the booths just because they're trying to keep as much space open to let people space out a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe not a Gurnee Days opportunity, but potential just opportunity just to share with residents in general.
Something to put
And
on the
you all-
calendar for next year anyways.
Yeah, and it's a big, I mean, I think just a push, just as we kind of think about our communications internally and how we're sharing stuff too. One thing to kind of update this group that's similar to this, we're working on a new resident guide for the village. So essentially, I mean, a lot of houses are being sold right now and bought. So a lot of people have been moving in and they have questions about like, do they need a vehicle sticker and what do they do for trash and who do they, you know, what do they do? So that's one area too that we could really push that as well, is how to recycle. So we can kind of train people as they're moving into the village and how to best recycle. So
Oh, that's
one of the areas
a
we're
good
putting
idea.
that in.
Okay. And you said that's a new residence program?
Yeah, like a new resident guide. So essentially we'd create a
Okay.
digital one that kind of, when they sign up for their water bill, we'd notify them, you know, about restaurants in the area and lots of areas we're working on. So it may take a little bit for us to get off the ground, but something out there.
Yeah, kind of a welcome wagon, kind of welcome to the village.
Yep.
Okay. Shelley, did you want to talk more about the possible foam recycling at this time, or is I think we've taken
Other,
that
I
as
think
far as
what
we
we could plan, I don't know how to go about planning a one-off event, other than picking a date, but we want to have enough time to get the word out, but not too much time so we're not overwhelmed with product to be recycled. And
Yeah, and I guess the that electronics recycling event was a cautionary tale that you might get more than you planned on.
yeah, I mean, once we get it, is it okay to take it to Highland Park, or what do we do with it?
Okay.
I saw on the internet some places take foam. I don't know how long that post has been up. Is it still accurate? They don't pay you for it, they just take it. So I can check into that to see if I can find other places to take it to besides Highland Park, if there are any. And then we can
Well,
set it.
Yeah, and then once you get a little more information on that, we can work on picking a day and the other logistics.
And now it's not going to be compressed foam. It's just going to be in its raw, light state. So
Unless someone has a mobile compactor, and that doesn't seem likely. Okay.
And with that, just not to like, so what I can do too, I'll reach out to Swalco again and Dart and see with Dart if we could. So Dart's interest, they don't want to do like a permanent drop off for the village. But what they may do is that if it's a one-off event, there's a potential that Dart would be willing to, you know, bring one of their trailers and just leave it for us for the event. So I'm not too worried about a one-off of, having some way to recycle it.
Okay.
I think more DART's concerned is if they wanted, if we were gonna do like a weekly or a monthly or whatever, that's where they want us to get the compactor. But if it's just a one time or, once a year or something, I think we could probably pull it off with DART. So looking at dates, maybe into fall or even, even around winter. I know when a lot of people, like after Black Friday, maybe, we did one in the past in December, maybe another one.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Black Friday to get rid of white foam. Looks good.
Okay. Then Jack, you put down as possibility for the August meeting, getting together with the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus staff on the greenest region.
Yeah, I put this down
What's your thought
potentially. Yeah, potentially as in August, but maybe even September. And not to like over push it off, but just if our August meeting, if we're gonna spend a bit of that planning our presentation to the board. The thought is that, okay, now we have the survey data, we present it to the village board. How can we use that data then to develop those greenest region criteria? So I'm hoping what we can do is get the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, like Edith and I can't remember her name, the other individual that was on the call with us a few months ago, but to see if they could come back and kind of help us and how to get started on it. And, whether it's eventually then too, we may have to do like a workshop event. So maybe it's a 2-hour, a 3-hour meeting, where we kind of go through the criteria and build it out, and kind of, or they tell us, hey, maybe the best way that we find other committees is we assign it out. So every committee member has a different sheet that's their responsibility to work through, or, I'm not certain. So that's kind of why I'm hoping to bring them back for a future meeting to help us.
Okay. Yep. And I think we do want to aim for the September meeting because we've been have our hands full for the August presentation. Okay.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them right after this meeting, and just see if if they're available for that September meeting, and then see what they could what they recommend. And again, if maybe we move that one to earlier in the day, but a couple-hour meeting, just to give it enough time that we're able to work through everything.
Yep. Sounds good. That's it for most of the agenda. Diane, is there anything you wanted to bring up, or any of the committee members?
No, nothing else.
Only other one I had was, so after our last meeting, we talked about the ComEd Trail signage. And then Shelley went out and took those photos. So she shared that there were pictures, that the signs basically had two parts to it. One said leash and pick up after pets, and they had our ordinance number. And the second part of it just said no motorized vehicles. So I brought it up to Public Works, our sign shop, and kind of showed them what was out there. So the question is, do we want to include more information about there isn't anything about littering, and I think for a lot of people it should be obvious, but maybe it's an opportunity not just for yard waste, but just littering in general. The ComEd Trail is a magnet for it. We have groups go out every year and they bring out hundreds of bags of trash every single year. So maybe also like a littering signage, or so one thing I want to bring up with the group is if there's any thoughts on what signage may encourage people, whether it's nice signage about the environment or if it's mean signage about it's an ordinance and a fine. I don't know what the preference is.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yep. Now you're muted, Diane. You're off mute. We heard your request.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
But not now. Now you're muted again. Yeah, we can't hear you, Diane. I don't know if it's on mute, so it just seems to be kind of going back to mute.
Is Gurnee considered a pet-friendly community?
Is Gurnee considered a pet-friendly community? I would say yes.
Okay, good. We talk about picking up solids. I hear you. Solids after pets in the park. What I'm finding is that dogs seem to gravitate to the same centers for urinating. Can we bring that up because it's ruining the grass in the parks? Something along leash your dog or whatever.
I think all the parks require your pets to be on a leash. I know the ones around, or Ravinia Park around me has a sign, keep your dog leash. So it's,
Is there any way to stop what's going on with this, the salt from the urine?
diapers. I don't know how you stop a dog from,
You train your dog to go someplace else is how you stop it. I've worked with dogs before.
okay.
But I think that other people wouldn't know what other dogs are doing. They're only concerned with their own dog. So it would be hard to tell people, don't let your dog urinate in this specific spot, even though they may want to. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't heard that concern before. I do know when it comes to salting for ice and snow, that salt is terrible for the landscaping. And some places, like around my office building, for some reason they think it's necessary to put half an inch of salt on a half inch of snow. So that is something that the community certainly can control and regulate. You want to keep the roads safe, but you don't want to be killing the lawns, and you don't want to. It also, of course, gets in stormwater, and that's not good for the lakes and streams.
So maybe we can all think of a sign, wording for a sign. We have a suggestion for a replacement sign or addition to sign.
For the trails, or what are
Yeah.
we talking about?
Well, that's what we started with, was the trail.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's any feasible way to have pet owners regulate where their animal urinates.
Yeah, and maybe there is opportunity too with, because tying it all in. So the one sign out there now does suggest to leash and pick up after pets. Leashing is an issue we face village-wide. We try to put out stuff just from dog attacks to, there's a wide range of issues and why you should leash your dog when walking, even on the trails. But I think what maybe is missing is some sort of littering, what to do with your waste too. To ask people to please take it with them and carry it out. Obviously we look at it and trash cans would be an easy solution in a way, but then we find the manpower issues and the costs associated with it. Looking just to see if we could try signage or other ways to have kind of people, informed about what to do. Now, I don't know, would a sign stop somebody from littering? If they're going to litter, I don't know, but maybe those type of people would be a threat of a fine might be the thing.
Good enough for them. But I was also thinking maybe, and if we just put like a few garbage cans along the trails, maybe on, I forget the street, but a street intersects the trail. So maybe we put like garbage cans on by that area, because then it'll be easy for the people to come pick it up. and have signs along the way saying 0.5 miles to the nearest garbage can, hold on to your trash, just to let people know that there is a garbage can near them, and so they don't just like throw it on the ground. So instead of having like many garbage cans along the way, we could just have a few and then have signs letting people know and like encouraging them to not litter and just wait for the garbage can.
I like the
And
idea of that
maybe-
signage. Oh, and then I was going to say, so as I'm kind of brainstorming on how to go about this, right? So this is where we face my operations side and the village. They push back, right? So with manpower concerns, but at the end of the day, the village board and the elected official and the people still run the village. So maybe what this is, we should work on this as part of our formal recommendations, maybe with the greenest region. So when we look at we create a recommendation to the village board, one of the policies and procedures might be, for village trails to include some sort of, dump or trash options along the route. And so that way it comes from as a policy directive from the committee, essentially recommending it.
Of course,
and
we
it can
could,
get built
we could
into the budget.
sponsor the trash cans, have people sponsor the trash cans, but that wouldn't help the manpower needed to empty them.
Right. My only concern about like the signage is, will the village board be for it?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I can't answer if they would or wouldn't. But maybe kind of how I think, at least what makes sense in my head is if we had some sort of rolled up recommendations, right? So the long term, let's say this will take a while as we see how this moves along. We develop sort of like a strategic plan or recommendations based on the greenest region criteria. And we look at a wide range of stuff, but then we also look at a couple like policy recommendations. And so we have kind of a list of recommendations that the village could do to be more green and more friendly. Maybe the opportunity is for this to be rolled into that. And the reason then is if the village board formally approves it, it's a policy level recommendation, that staff can then take and work with, because there's a cost associated with it. I mean, there's no doubt there's a cost to increase our pickups, our trash, and it's decently significant, just because they would need to pick these up, even if it's just one or two. They would need to pick them up probably weekly during the summer. So over the course of multiple years, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. But again, that's part of what this group has the power to be able to make recommendations to the board like that to adopt. So that's kind of how I think would best maybe to take that next step.
Okay, but a recommendation of putting up half dozen signs saying, "Help keep our trail clean, please pack out your trash." That's a lower bar to clear.
Yeah, exactly. And Public Works is willing to do that now. If we tell them what to put out, their sign shop can make the signs. They make signs all the time. So signs, easy, because you put them up once every 10 years or whatever. So if we had a couple signs that we think would work, they're open to it.
Okay. Well, there's a good assignment for us. Let's all try and think of some verbiage to go on a sign to encourage folks to take the trash with them and keep the trail clean.
I agree with putting up some just like signs right now to encourage people to take their trash with them. But another question about if we do go with fines and it does get passed, how will we be able to enforce it? Or how will the village be able to enforce it?
Yeah, so it's currently enforced by complaint basis. So essentially, if we get a complaint and somebody actively is doing it, or if a police officer happens to see it that moment, they then can issue it. But if, let's say, someone's like, hey, I saw that person litter, that's not probable cause and not enough to, there's no evidence essentially to back it up. But if it's, hey, there's somebody who every morning is doing it, we've had that happen before. You know, it's hard to enforce it, to be honest, unless someone calls. Like leashing a pet is easier because someone can call about an unleashed dog walking on the trail. Officer comes out, sees the dog, issues a ticket. But littering is the officer pretty much has to see it to enforce it.
Yeah. And the consequence of a dog attack is much more severe than crash. So understandably, that's not a high enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up. We'll be working on the results of the survey and a draft presentation to the board. Jack, you're going to pull together the quantitative SurveyMonkey material, and meanwhile get the qualitative things over to Shelley for a first pass. And then we'll probably work through email exchanges over the next few weeks to try and flesh things out.
Well, guess what? I moved to adjourn.
Okay.
I have to be somewhere. So if we're done.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Well, thank you very much, folks. I think it was real productive, and we'll be communicating over the next few weeks here as we pull together the presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I'm good. Bye, everyone.